All right, welcome to our final week of wall yoga. We are going to get crazy today. You are going to want to start in legs at the wall. You're going to want to have your strap handy. We're going to do that like quick hamstring hip opener that we did last week because it is just a nice fast way to get things started. Let me get my clock going. So come into legs up the wall. If you have the availability or the choice to have a little more space, I do want to throw a straddle into this while we're at the wall. If not, you can just come out of it and I will come out also and show you how you can do it if you don't have enough space and you just do it at the floor, on the floor. So coming into legs at the wall. Scooching your butt right up into the wall. So my low back is on the floor. My butt cheeks are on the wall. If you find that your hips are elevated here and you can't get your low back on the floor, you want to go ahead and just place a blanket or a pillow under the pelvis so that you can rest in this position. You're going to drop the arms out to the side, palms turned up. And we did this last week as well, but if you want to strap the legs for this first part, just to really let that nervous system chill out a little bit more. And then just taking a couple deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. Trying to let everything relax. And again, this pose is amazing for calming your central nervous system. So if you've got anxiety, this is a great pose to add to your daily life to help keep your anxiety in check. If you have insomnia, this is a great way to prep yourself for bed. I oftentimes will do this in bed with just my legs running up the headboard. This is a great way to calm kids down. If you can get them to hold still long enough in it. It is a great way to balance hormones. So it's beautiful for menstruation, especially if your body does not like going upside down during menstruation. You're getting all of the benefits of an inversion here without needing to do any of the effort, really. And it will not affect your menstrual cycle in a negative way. So you still keep that downward flow of energy. This is actually really the only inversion that continues the downward flow of energy and actually encourages it. So anytime you've got that upward flow of energy, too much going upwards, too much anxiety, too much mental chatter, too much awakeness, you're jet lagged and your body is like, no, I want to be awake, but it's 3 in the morning. This is a great way to start moving energy downwards. To bringing your body back to a more centered and calm place. And if you've got the legs strapped, you're going to unstrap them. Keep your strap handy because we're going to use it in a minute. You're going to cross the right ankle over the left knee, so just above the knee on the thigh, and then start to bend that left knee until you reach your appropriate level of stretch. The important thing to remember and maintain while you're here is your pelvis levelness. So both of my sitting bones, butt cheeks, are still on the wall. They've shifted placement as to where they're touching the wall because I've shifted placement of my muscles. But You want to make sure that they're both kissing the wall and that they're kissing the wall in equal amounts of pressure. So a lot of times when we come into this, our hips will actually swing to the left to kind of deal with the tightness in the hips. So you want to make sure that the hips are touching and that pressure is the same. So you might really need to stay active through that left waistline and left hip to maintain that balance. If you have super open hips, a lot of times this knee will flop down towards your shoulder, in which case you'll just need to push into that inner knee, lengthening it away from you. And then you just come back to your breath. All of these first few poses are very passive. A great opportunity to center in yourself and to reconnect to your breath. And then you're going to grab your strap, place it around the ball of the right foot, release the left leg up the wall, and then send the right leg with the strap up the wall. And go ahead and reach through your heel, and then think about using your abdominal muscles to suck that thigh bone down into the floor. So you're pulling the femur into the hip socket, and then you're extending from the knee to the heel up towards the sky. And then I'm using my arms to pull my foot away. And again, I like to take the strap low so that I maintain a nice open chest. And it's almost like I'm doing a row. I'm really engaging my back body as I pull the toes away from the wall, but still think of sinking my right sitting bone towards the wall. And my butt cheeks are still on the wall. And finding opposition in 4 directions, up, down, front, and back. And you're going to release that. Let the right leg fall back to the wall. Left ankle is going to cross over that right thigh, bending the right knee to find your appropriate level of stretch. Again, sitting bones still kissing the wall, and they are kissing the wall in equal amount of pressure. If the knee is falling towards the shoulder, pushing it away. And if your hips are really tight, you are going to have to stay engaged through that right waistline, right hip, to stop your hips from swinging to the right. And you're going to grab your strap, wrap it around the ball of the left foot, send that left leg up, right leg up, and then sucking the femur bone down into the hip, tibia and fibula up towards the sky, toes towards your head, I guess you could say, and hip towards the wall. Engaging through the back body for the strength in the arms instead of through the shoulders and through the arms. You're going to unloop the foot, sit your strap off to the side, and then if you've got the space, you're just going to open up here into a straddle. And you want to really let the legs relax. You're going to feel a nice intense stretch through the inner thighs. And as we sit in this pose for about a minute, you're going to notice that the legs are going to be able to drop a little bit more. Now, if you don't have the space, or if your hamstrings and low back are just a little too tight for that to be comfortable in any manner, you're going to bring yourself around and sit with your back to the wall so that you're supported upright. So my butt is right into the wall. You might have to lift your hips up onto a block or onto a pillow. I'm using the back of the wall to make my back straight, and I'm taking this out into a straddle here. And then as you start to feel open here, you can move yourself away from the wall a little bit and then start to take it forward. So those are various options. If you're in legs at the wall, just trying to rest in your low back. We'll take a couple more deep breaths here. Maybe those legs will drop open a little bit more. And then you can use your hands to assist. I like to flex my feet and then just very gently bend my knees, and then use my hands to bring my legs together. You can drop the heels down the wall into that kind of wall squat, wall malasana. And then roll yourself over and come on up. And we're going to do that hip opener at the wall that we did on the very first class. So you're going to want both of your blocks. If you have sensitive knees, you're going to make sure that you've got some padding here right up against the wall. So we're gonna back into the wall, take the right leg up the wall so that my knee rests on the floor and my shin is right up into the wall. Now, the most basic version of this is just to slide the left knee forward, and we're keeping the pelvis really square. So I'm actually driving this right hip, right femur down into the floor. Okay, so I'm really trying to stay square. And this can be a really beautiful stretch, even if you have open hip flexors and psoas. This can be a really lovely, gentle but effective variation. So I have super open hip flexors, but I get a very good stretch, and I get it all the way through my lower abdomen here as well, just from making sure that I'm almost internally rotating that femur bone a little bit. And I can really relax my low back and my hips because I'm not being asked to do very much here in my body. Now, to take this a little bit deeper, you're going to want to lean to the right, step that left foot forward, and then grab your blocks again. Start upright, and actually let's do two variations of this. So first variation is you're going to use your left foot to actually push your butt back and try to come upright. So I'm almost trying to get my butt on the wall on the inside of this right heel. And at the same time, I'm tucking my tail, lifting my pubic bone. So this is going to stretch in a very different way than we were just stretching in that first basic pose. And then we're going to take it a little bit different, and we're going to stretch in a whole different way. So this is a multifaceted quad psoas extravaganza. And you're getting a really good glute workout at the same time. And then from here, probably have to walk that foot forward a little bit, and then you're going to drop the hips forward. So again, I'm driving my pelvis down towards my left heel. I'm driving that right femur bone, that right thigh bone, down and forwards. I'm tucking my tail, I'm lifting my pubic bone. And then you can kind of find the place that works for you. So does it feel really good to be more upright? But again, pelvis moving away from the wall. Does it feel really good to be on my hands, on my forearms? I mean, as you move yourself through this, you are going to hit all different parts. So you might want to just keep moving, finding a spot that's intense, breathing into it for 4 or 5 breaths. I like to do a little like twist here, where I drop that right hip actually a little lower than my left hip. And I just find that that feels really good up here in this connection between the quad and the TFL and the IT band. I've always had knee injuries, so I have a lot of patterns of compensation through the hips and through specifically the quad, IT, TFL area. And then you're gonna bring that left leg back, bring the right knee forward. Just take a second, sitting upright, resting. Take a couple deep breaths. Hip openers always tend to bring up a lot of tension in the body, typically in the jaw, in the neck, in the shoulders. There's something about the hips that is where we like to store unresolved emotions, things we don't want to deal with. We just stick them in our hips. So it's not unusual for you to feel emotion when you're in hip openers. That's usually the place if someone's going to cry in yoga class, that's where it happens. So just noticing it. I do like to rest in between hip poses because The shoulders love to creep up. So if you've got padding, you're just going to move it to the other side so you can do the other leg. We start off with that left knee going all the way back into the wall. Shin goes up the wall, knee is on the floor right in the crack where the floor and the wall meet. And then the right knee comes forward. And I'm really working on driving that left hip and thigh down. Almost an internal rotation happening. It's so pronounced. I mean, that's just where all my attention is, that thigh bone. It's like I'm trying to get my quad to touch the floor. And then tucking the tail, lifting the pubic bone. And you might need to move around, find those extra tight spots. And then leaning over to the left. Swing that right foot forward and keep it back a little bit at first because we're going to use that right leg to actually push our butt back. Again, just on the inside of the left heel, trying to get the butt to maybe even touch the wall. Tuck your tailbone, lift your pubic bone. Just trying to move the whole back body, really, if you can, into the wall. And then walking that right foot forwards a little bit, pulling the hips away from the wall, so dragging the pelvis forward. And finding the place that works best for you gets you the deepest stretch. So again, it might be down on the floor, it might be all the way up. You might need to move a couple times while we're here. This is one of my favorite stretches, this quad wall stretch. It really doesn't allow you to cheat at all, and it is super painful but also super effective. So even the most flexible person is going to find a pretty serious sensation here. And with a little bit of curiosity, you can find all sorts of serious sensations. So once the pose becomes a little more accessible and a little less life-alteringly painful, you can get curious and spend some time really getting to know your pelvis, getting to know the front of the thigh, how it relates to the pelvis, how it relates to the inner thigh and the outer thigh. There's so much goodness here. It's kind of crazy. I mean, I could spend probably my entire hour-long practice just messing around here and finding things I didn't know existed. I mean, even a little idea here. You don't have to go here, I'm just showing you. For fun, because I thought of it, you can come down into pigeon here. Like, how crazy do you want to get? You can start, working that right foot forward into a split. There's just so many options. We're not going to do all those options though today. We are going to back out of this pose and move on to another life-alteringly painful pose. But first, we take a breath. So I'm going to show this to you in a couple different directions so that you can really understand it. It's frog pose. So what you do is you walk your knees out as wide as they go, and I turn my toes out. So I externally rotate from the knees down, and I get as wide as I can with my feet flat on the floor here, okay? And then I'm going to actually push my butt backwards. So from this perspective, where I can get a proper amount of space, feet are flat on the wall, and then I push back. And as you do this, play with your pelvis. So tip your pelvis forwards and backwards. Okay, so I'm a little bit of a cat-cow action. And just notice how that shifts things for you. And you want to pretty much keep your feet right in line with your knees or slightly wider than your knees. You don't want them inside. That's going to be really easy. We're not looking for easy. That's not why we come to this class. You're looking for ways I can torture you. So little cat-cow. Just notice how that shifts the sensation. Notice where you get the deepest sensation. Try to hang out there. And to come out of this, I gotta just face plant forward. Ugh. And then windshield washer, my legs side to side. Because it feels good. And then drop myself up. Ooh, take a second, little child's pose. Okay, so let's move into some total body core and then towards a back bend. And then we're going to do some single leg balancing with the wall, which will life alter your single leg balancing after this moment. So we did this last week, the pin up, where your feet are a little longer than a foot's width away from the wall. You're going to soft bend into the knees, a hard tuck of the pelvis so that the low back is on the wall. In fact, the whole spine needs to press itself into the wall right up as high as you can get. And then think about pressing the face and the neck back towards the wall as if you were trying to get the neck, the spinal, the cervical spine on the wall. You're going to externally rotate here. You're going to externally rotate your arms so that your shoulder blades also come flat into the wall and the backs of the hands press into the wall. And I'm using my whole core to press everything into the wall, shoulders down. So my shoulder blades are flat on the wall, my spine, your mid-back is going to want to pop off of the wall, and I want you to push it into the wall. And that is going to require you to engage some abdominal voodoo here that you didn't even know you had. So it becomes a really intense like crunch action without any crunch, but your whole core has got to work like crazy to really get in here. Legs should be working hard. And this is a pose that you can do if you struggle with your posture, you struggle with slouching, neck pain, shoulder pain, low back pain. This is an amazing, this is total body, really. So holding it for 30 seconds at a clip a couple times a day will absolutely change your posture. And then go ahead and release. Whew, shake it all out. And we're going to come into our wall downward dog series. So, standing a little longer than a torso's distance away from the wall. You're going to bend the knees, kind of like you're about to pounce. Take a look down at your feet. Make sure that your feet are in one line, that they're not turned out, that they're not turned in, okay? They're in one line. Your knees are on top of the feet. And you want to think about pressing into the inner and outer points of the ball of the foot, the inner and outer points of the heels, but you're lifting your arches up, so your ankle bones are literally pushing outwards. And so actually do that. Push so hard outwards that your knees spread out, okay? Now I want you to fix this outward movement by internally rotating your thighs. So I have equal movement outward. My movement outward is coming from the feet and the shins, and my movement inward is coming from the knees. So you try both, push out and push in, and then find the lower leg going out, the upper leg coming in. And it's like, woo, it should feel like you're trying to rip the mat between your feet, okay? That's what we're looking for. So we get that little action going. We start to rip the mat between our feet. And we take our hands into the wall, about hip height. And then we keep that action in the legs and straighten the legs out. And now it's like the feet are trying to rip the mat and push me into the wall, and my hands are trying to push me away from the wall. We externally rotate the upper arms so the elbow points look down and almost try to squeeze towards each other. My shoulders are away from my ears, so I'm nice and long and my neck is easy. And I'm doing that whole wall pin-up right now where I'm drawing my core into my back body. My core is super strong. And it's as if I'm pressing my back into the ceiling, doing that pin-up again. And then, it's not actually going to happen. You're not actually going to slide your hands down the wall, but I want you to think about pulling your hands down the wall. That's going to light up your lats, your serratus anterior. It's going to light up your core even more. It's going to light up your legs even more. It's going to make everything hurt more. It's perfect. And then you bend the knees, send yourself back, ragdoll your way up. Whew, give yourself a break. So that's what you want your downward dog to feel like when you're in downward facing dog. Your head is nice and loose, your lats are turned on, your shoulders are relatively relaxed. It's the arms that are working, but they are working in conjunction with the core. And we're kind of leaving neck and shoulders out of it. And our legs and our torso are fighting against each other to really open and lengthen everything. So that core connection also needs to be brought into things like back bends. So we're going to do a variation. See if I don't have really the space here, but I'll give you an idea and then I'll do it. I'll give you a butt shot instead. So we've been doing a lot of this action, working into the wall, both standing and kneeling, right? And coming backwards, thinking about sliding up and then moving away. So I want that same sensation with the same core sensation that you just had in both the pinup and the wall down dog. But we're gonna do it essentially into the wall. You're really lengthening, you're really stretching through the arms. And then we're gonna peel our butt away, okay? And we're gonna take ourselves back like this, but with our arms up the wall. And that is going to give us an insane stretch through the area that we were just working so hard on. We are going to maintain that strength and that core strength so that we don't kind of sink into our low back, because it's really easy to just kind of like sink into our low back, just in the same way that it's super easy in a down dog to sink into our chest and our shoulders. We don't want to do that. So we got to stay strong through our core. So you come into the wall, face planting into the wall. I lift up, I really lengthen as tall as I can, and then I cinch everything together just like I was here. If I was here and I stood up and I stayed strong, and I marched it to the wall, boom, that's where I'm at. I stay strong, I'm pulling my shoulders down, so I'm kind of dragging my hands down the wall. And then I'm going to stick my butt back, and I'm going to take my feet. I'm going to stay super connected. I want you to think about your heart and your pubic bone, even though they're going to be doing this. They're energetically, like magnetically moving towards each other. Okay? Walk your feet back. Keep walking, keep walking. Keep your chest and your nose on the wall. So no matter how low you get, the chest and the nose stay on the wall, okay? Shouldn't be able to go too far because our arms, most of our arms don't flip back like that. And then you're going to engage your belly even more and pop your chest off the wall, just to send yourself back. So really that's training your core to work effectively in a back bend while opening up your chest and shoulders. Give yourself a couple shoulder rolls here. And let's just do camel pose at the wall again before we go in towards a drop back. So we come right up into the wall. And we can make fists on our pelvis. So not on the low back, but actually on the pelvis. As if you were trying to push your glutes down. So you need to really tuck your tail, and you think of sliding your pubic bone actually up the wall and your tail going down, and it's pushing through the thighs into the wall. And we reach our heart up. And as we lengthen, just like we did a second ago, we lengthen our heart and our pubic bone away from each other, but we stay connected in our core. We stay strong in our core, and that protects our low back. When we take it back as far as we can go, maybe we reach for those heels, maybe one hand, maybe both hands, but our pelvis stays on the floor. If you're finding you don't have a ton of range of motion here, that is fine. That is normal. You are a human. Extendo arms. Blocks make great extendo arms. So you always have the option. You can take your blocks on your calf muscles. This can be really nice, and then make fists and press in that way. Take it onto the floor that way. It all really depends on what's going on in your shoulder girdle. Okay? And then engage the abs to come back up. Take a moment, wall child's pose. So, If you're pretty solid at back bends and you already know you're probably going to walk yourself down the wall, I like to put blocks shoulder width apart where I think my hands are going to end up, where I know my hands are going to end up if I'm familiar with this. Most of us are probably not going to need this because most of us are probably just going to be playing with the idea of falling back, which is a huge concept for the world as it is. So, but if you are more familiar with drop backs, you might go all the way down the wall. I probably won't because I haven't done this in years. But kind of similar to foot placement for this, for our down dog, that's about where your feet are going to be. Okay, because you have to think, I need to get into a back bend. Chances are, I don't want to be too close to my heels. But this is terrifying because the wall is so far away. So that is the trick, is getting to believe that the wall is going to catch us. So that is going to be, like, that is all I really want you to focus on today. If you have more of a back bend practice, you can take this further. But I am mainly going to focus on just getting our hands on that wall behind us without turning around. So you are completely capable of this because we have prepped your core and your legs and your shoulders. So everything is open and is ready to catch you. All of you can do this. So bend your knees a little bit, wiggle out that hip. Think about pulling the shins apart, the lower leg apart, and bringing the upper legs together, okay? So we get that sensation of, I'm gonna rip this mat, okay? And then keep that strength as you straighten out your legs. Do not lock your knees. So if you have hypermobile knees, keep them softly bent. We're not looking to lock anything out here. We're going into a back bend. Everything needs to be really soft and smooth in order for us not to kill ourselves. My tail tucks, my pubic bone lifts. So imagine that pinup, how you gotta get that low back. You gotta get the booty out of the way to get the low back on the wall, right? Okay? Then I have to think about getting my mid back on the wall, so I have to really engage that core. And now we think about sliding our chest up the wall. We reach it up towards the sky, and the head goes along for the ride. It's not yanking back. It's lengthening. The spine lengthens. It doesn't snap in half, okay? And then we can start to kind of take this back. And I try to see the ceiling right above me. And then I can really arch back, pull my shoulders down as I look back for that wall. One hand. Fall back, okay? And then push yourself away. Come back up. Do the whole thing. Start at your feet. Lower legs move away, upper legs move in, tail tucks, pubic bone lifts, core engages, heart lifts. I start to take it back and up, 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 up. I look back, I take the other arm. Back, fall back. Push forward. Okay? That might be it. That might be all you do. And just go back and forth between the two sides a couple times. If it feels safe, you can do the same thing, look back, and reach with both hands. Okay? Now if that feels safe, you can start to walk down. And then walk back up. Take a couple steps down, take a couple steps up. This is easy peasy for you. Go all the way down. And once you're down there, press your elbows and your forearms into the wall, use the wall, and pull your knees away from the wall, and push your belly button up towards the sky. Okay, so we're still using the wall, we're still fighting our opposition wherever we are. So a couple times, back and forth, trying to kiss the wall if you go into that back bend all the way to the floor. I want to see you kiss the wall. Good. Nice, Miami. Mayu, take your block or something between your knees when you drop back. So yeah, a common thing when people drop back Like if I don't have the full ability, which I don't, so you will see it in me. So I try to drop back. I start to walk down. See what's happening to my knees? See this turning out thing? So remedy that. Put a block between the knees. You can start wide if that feels safer. And then once you've got the mobility, you can come in here and then take it back from there. That way, okay? Try just another few seconds of this. If you've already had enough, don't blame you. Come into child's pose. So an attempt or two more, and then child's pose. Good, and then we're gonna come into our handstand from last week, but first, we're gonna go back into our wall up dog because I want you to re-engage that core because we just stressed everything so much going back. We need to remind ourselves that we can really connect to our core. So same thing, legs, lower legs move out, upper legs move in. We extend and reach forward. Shoulders move away from the ears. We use our feet to push our hips up and forward. Use our hands to push our hips back. And then we drag the heel of the hands down the wall. So just reminding ourselves that our back doesn't need to bend and we can just stay nice and straight and have our core engaged. Good, and then come up. You're pretty much in position. For this next part, you just turn yourself around, see where your feet are, and that's where you're gonna put your hands. You come down. Starting in tabletop, we find that same feeling that we just had in our wall down dog. We find all of our core muscles nice and strong. We lift the hips and start with our heels pressing towards the floor, towards the wall. We gather everything together nice and strong. Bend one knee, bend the other knee. Maybe we just stay here. Maybe we straighten those legs out and we engage our core. Bend the knees, come on down. Child's pose. Whew. All right. Cool, we've got a couple more minutes to get these leg balances in. So last week, you'll just need one block for this. Last week we worked on our triangle, our extended side angle, and our warrior 2 at the wall. So maybe let's just take a second and revisit those, just so we can get those legs turned on a little bit more. So actually you'll need 2 blocks for a second. Come into our warrior 2. Our right foot is a little bit away from the wall. So we can fit a block in there. And then we take the left block behind that left knee, hamstring. Okay, so we get that feeling of pushing out. And then inevitably our belly wants to hang forwards and we want to arch our low back. So we want to resist that by almost coming into that pin up. So the booty gets out of the way and I start to press my spine back and I open up into my warrior 2. Okay? Just hold for a couple breaths here. And then I'll release. Just switch sides. block goes to the left knee, other block comes behind that right thigh. Pushing those blocks into the wall, booty out of the way so I can get that low back towards the wall, arms out, shoulders down. And there we have it. So really engaging from our bones, essentially. Feeling how those bones line up, and then the muscles wrap around them and support. Get and release. So from here, we are going to take half moon. So if you're not familiar with what the hell I'm talking about, we just need one block. I'm going to take my most stable block. Half moon is oftentimes brought from, you come from it from warrior two, from extended side angle, from triangle, all of those places are where it comes from. But it is when you step up into that leg and you reach the hand for the floor, the leg up. But what usually happens, if I can show this sideways, is we come into it and this leg kind of comes out here, and we kind of come out here, and you're like, oh, I'm in it, and it hurts, it's horrible, and it's not right. So what we want to do today is use the wall with our foot. Because I found years ago that the more I could line myself up, and I used to always teach it this way, if you came to my classes in San Francisco, where I would come from a standing position and I'd make you get really long and slowly come into it this way, because I found that the more I can move my head and my heel away from each other, the more stable everything else became. So we're going to put our foot back and come into warrior two here. Okay, you might need to adjust. You probably will need to adjust. You definitely will need to adjust. But just feeling that sensation of pushing into the wall and lengthening through your head. So let's come into an extended side angle for a second. Okay, you can have your arm up, you can have your arm back, you can have it on your hip, however you want to do it. But I want you to feel pushing into the wall and reaching through the crown of your head. Okay? Now I'm going to step my foot back a little bit because I really only need to be a length width away. And then I'm going to step up into the wall. And I'm trying to get my foot the same height as my hip, okay? And I'm internally rotated, kind of. My inner thigh is looking down, my toes are parallel, okay? Once you find this beautiful 90-degree angle, you know you're ready. That block can come down for the lat support. That arm can come up. Now I want you to push through your foot and extend through the crown of your head. Okay, so this is my center, and I'm extending, I'm finding opposition into the wall and away from the wall, okay, from my center space. And my block is in line with my toes, so I know that as long as my shoulder is on top of my wrist, that I can roll my other shoulder on top of that, and I'm in one line here. So I'm cheating. Push, push, push. Engage those quads. I mean, you want to feel your bones inside your thighs and then feel the muscles just assembling around them. Beautiful. And take it into a little forward fold. And we repeat on the other side. So, gotta remember where your foot was because we're gonna take a warrior first. Where we come into warrior, push into the outer edge of that foot, extended side angle, pushing through the heel and through the head. Feeling that length. And then put the foot back where it needs to be. Start to walk that left leg up. Same height as the hip. Take a block in line with the foot. Line everything up in the upper body. and then push. Push into the wall and reach. You're gonna feel this whole left side body getting longer, right up through the crown of the head. Keep pushing, keep breathing, keep lengthening, using this center point, extending into the wall and extending away from the wall. Go ahead and release into a forward fold. And we'll come down onto the floor. I'm going to do length of the wall, but I just wanted to say for a second that in that pose, you're expanding everywhere. And the problem when you're in a practice and you're away from the wall and you're coming into any single leg pose, any balancing pose, you always, if you are unstable, you know you're being lazy somewhere. You know you're not finding opposition. So if you're finding you're having a really hard time with your balancing, always ask yourself, where am I not finding opposition? Because that is the trick, and that is kind of what the wall teaches us, is that we have these things and they might be invisible, but if we put our feet or our hands or our backs into an actual wall and make it physical, then we can find that opposition and then we can take that away from the wall and use it in our practice. So that's essentially what the wall teaches us. It teaches us to really take advantage of opposition. In society, we think of opposition as being a bad thing, but it's not. It helps us expand our minds. These conversations of opposition always make us grow in some way. So it's no different on your yoga mat. It's no different in the gym. Just the art of doing weights is breaking apart your muscles. It's giving you opposition to build something up. So use the wall. It is your friend. It is going to support you and love you and teach you all the places where you are just not showing up for yourself in your body. And may that unfold into your life. So, our last legs up the wall. Booty into the wall, back onto the floor, onto a blanket. If you've got your strap handy and you want to strap those legs, I highly recommend it. As you get yourself comfy, just a couple deep breaths. Once again, deepening your breath, bringing your awareness back into your body. Slowly bring the knees down to the chest. If you've strapped your knees, you can unstrap them. Rolling over onto one side. Sit yourself right up against the wall. Wiggling your butt and your spine up against the wall, just allowing yourself to rest gently against it. Next month is going to be therapy ball yoga, or rather just therapy ball. So you'll want to make sure that you've got some therapy balls, whether it is yoga tune-up balls or tennis balls, lacrosse balls, whatever you got, the harder the better, but you want them to have a little bit of give. So lacrosse balls can be a little more intense than one might want. Kind of a rubbery ball is what is best. You're gonna want that. And I wanna do some abdominal work. So you're also going to want to have something about the size of a soccer ball. So I have, let me grab it. I have one of these. It's just a Pilates ball, essentially. It's inflatable, it's squishy. Something this size, so it's about the size of a soccer ball. And you can actually go get a soccer ball and just deflate it a little bit so it's squishy. We're going to use this to really break up stuff in the belly diaphragm. It's going to improve your digestion. It's going to be life altering for ladies. It's going to help with the menstrual cramps and things like that. So we're going to use one of these and we're going to use the therapy balls. So you need 2 of those balls, 1 of these, and yeah, we're going to get our massage on next month. So come prepared for some massage. Thank you guys so much for playing with me this month. It has been fun, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Namaste.